Welcome back to another episode of Project Management for Small Business, and I'm your host, Anthony Pavelich. Today we have with us a special guest, Beth Bridges. She is the author of Networking on Purpose, a 5-part networking success plan to build powerful and profitable business networks. She wrote this book after attending over 2,500 networking events in 10 years alone. Networking has not only landed her a dream job in 18 hours, but also launched her digital marketing agency without advertising and given her happiness back after terrible loss. She speaks to business people on leveraging their own unique personal networking style and existing skills for business and career success. She has an opening session specifically for conference attendees to create the personalized networking success plan for the conference. Beth has a personal network motivating keynote titled Love, Loss, and Networking, How to Survive Anything. She is also nationally ranked in her age group for running the 800 meter and the 1500 meter in Masters Track. So let's get started with Beth. Okay, Beth, thanks for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and just start out by you giving us a little background of your business. And I know you've got a book out there, The Networking Motivator. So just what do you do? Who do you do it for? And then we'll go from there.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Anthony. So I'm Beth Bridges, and I'm known as the Networking Motivator because I have attended about 3,000 networking events in the last 15 years. And that is a lot. It is a lot. And it is a strategy. It was a strategy that I put into place, which was network as much as possible because I had a marketing job where it was a marketing and sales job where basically I didn't have much of a marketing or sales budget. And so really what I had was the freedom and the opportunity and even the willingness to go out in the community and just connect with people and talk with people. And our market was small businesses. And so that's what I did. And it worked very well. It was a membership organization at Chamber of Commerce, and I built the membership up to the highest level they'd ever had, just really simply through networking and connecting. And, after a while, people say, well, I see you everywhere. You must know everyone. And I think, sure, I must. And so, but that wasn't sustainable. It's not scalable. And when my mom would call and say, hey, do you want to have lunch? I'd have to schedule an appointment with her. That's really sad.
Make an appointment to see friends and family. But as when you're doing
right?
a lot
exactly.
of entrepreneurs have to do that a lot. So they have to make sure it's important to balance.
Yeah.
Block out time for that kind of thing.
Yes. And so that's how the book really came about, because I started thinking, well, two things happened. One, people thought because I was doing a lot of networking that I must be really good at it, which to a certain extent can be possible. But they also thought that, and it was partly the position I was in the chamber. I was in a leadership position, so they really kind of expected that. But they also thought, if you're good at networking, you must be good at teaching networking. And so they started asking me, what are you doing and how are you doing it? And I thought, well, I know how I'm doing it and what I'm doing, but there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a little bit more of a system. There has to be a little bit more of a strategy here rather than just do a lot. And like you said, entrepreneurs need to understand that, because just doing more and more and more is not scalable. And especially if you're a solopreneur, it's just not.
That's one of the things that, teach me how to do it. How are you doing? Sometimes you don't even think about the process. You just start doing, and and if you're going, like you said, so many in like the 15 years you were doing them, it can get tiring. And there's got to be, there had to be a way that you could actually organize it and pick what's good networking and what's bad networking, because not all networking is good networking.
Yeah, yes, there can be bad networking, but is there effective networking, especially, is what I wanted to ask myself. What's really effective and what's really useful
by bad
here?
Networking, I mean doing things that aren't going to help you grow your business, going to the wrong things.
Oh, Yeah, you're right though. There is bad networking because there are people who do things and you just think, wow, how is that? How is that working for you? What, you think, I think that they must be frustrated and they are kind of stuck in that place where they think, well, it's not working that well for me. So I just need to keep doing more and more and more. So,
Yeah.
It can be bad.
So how did you get started in what you're doing now? I mean, you're now just coaching, working with your book, your training?
So now I have also, I said it was a marketing position. I have 25 years of marketing experience, from international marketing to small business marketing. And what I'm doing is tying that together with the networking, because a lot of small businesses or solopreneurs don't have a huge marketing budget, but they do some marketing and they rely a lot on networking. So I'm tying those together, and I coach and I train. I also help people actually do their marketing campaigns, and a lot of that is by helping them pull together a team. So outsourcing parts of it. You kind of build a team based on people's different skill sets, and you find other freelancers who are willing to work with you. So there's a lot of moving parts. And then I'm really starting to specialize in working with people who want to speak, to either promote their business locally or who are building a large scale speaking business, because that's what I do as well. So I go out and speak and do keynotes and workshops on networking and on my networking strategy, and also some of the life experiences I've had recently, which have made networking even more important, but not from a business perspective. And so all those tie together in my small business. Like I said, I'm a solopreneur, and basically got started with it because people started asking me after I wrote the book to help them with
Networking
those
is so
things.
important, and a lot of people don't put enough time or effort into it. Like you said, I mean, you're at a shared office space. It helps you network. It helps you meet other people. And as solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, people that work from home, you've got to force yourself to get out there and network. You can't just sit at home and be in front of the computer all day long and not meet people.
Yeah, because first of all, your Fitbit will just nag the heck out of you all day long.
Stand up.
Walk around. It's interesting you say that, because the woman who founded this co-working space had been working at home, and because she'd been working at home for so long, she was actually finding it harder and harder to get out. The longer she waited, the harder it became, until it was really produced a lot of anxiety for her. And, like you said, that's a good point, Anthony, that we don't put enough time into networking. A lot of times what we do is we don't put enough consistency into our networking. And what happens is we get a little rusty, especially if we're not kind of naturally, naturally a little more extroverted or naturally a little more socially oriented. Even if you are, if you don't go out and kind of do some things and connect with other people and socialize with other people, you'll find yourself being awkward at a networking event or a social event or something like that. And you're thinking, why am I so awkward? And then you start, then you're down on yourself and you're like, I shouldn't go anywhere because I'm such an awkward person. And then you don't go anywhere, and then you become more awkward, and it just,
yeah,
it spirals down.
So how do you mentioned just a little bit ago that there's a lot of moving pieces to what you do. How do you keep all that in track?
So I'm still developing the process, and I was hoping you weren't thinking, I need somebody on this podcast who has all their stuff together.
That's the thing is,
I don't.
A lot of people think that they have to have it all together, and a lot of people start thinking, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. So it's always good to hear from people that are doing it, trying to do it. What have you already tried that's not working? What are you trying now, and how is it working for you? That kind of thing. So yeah. We definitely want to, all levels of experience is what this is all
Okay. Okay, good. Then I won't feel bad that it's not a perfect system. So a couple of things about the way I work. Most of what I do a lot of writing, do some video editing. I'm not a graphic designer, but I'm putting together campaigns for clients, doing a lot of, like we're doing now. If you're listening, we're on Zoom, so we can see each other, which I
do too.
really like that. It's so hard. It's hard to have a long conversation without being able to see the other person. And so even if you're sharing this podcast as audio only, the audience is going to get more out of it because you and I can see each other.
I fully agree. I can't, I have a hard time doing, like people sometimes are like, well, just give me a call. I'm like, I can't do it over the phone because I'd rather be able to interact. I can see if I ask a question, how it affects you. And then I'd be like, okay, so this is something that we should expand on because this is something that seems important to her or to the guest. So you don't have those social cues. You don't have the visual cues that you have if you're not doing things face to face. And obviously, if we're doing things like this all around the world, then you can't do everything in person sitting next to each other. This is the next best thing.
Yep. And isn't that a great networking lesson right there? That if you are trying to connect with people not locally, use video. Use video. It gives you so much more of the actual social interaction because, technically our brains almost can't tell the difference between, almost, you sitting here or me sitting there.
It's the interaction.
Yeah. So, all right. So my system. Okay. So to me, one of the really important things is to have a system. Anything that we do, that's why I wrote my book. It's a networking kind of the foundation of a networking system. And so I'm still refining it. And one of the things that I'm working on is practicing using it. And if anybody's a fan of David Allen, Getting Things Done, he's very adamant about having a system about how you deal with your stuff. And so one of the things I've started to do for myself is kind of build a flow chart. And I didn't write it out in flow chart. It's in a outline form of kind of what my process is. And so I use Workflowy for anything you're going to do where it's a lot of, it is like an outline, bullet points and sub-bullet points and things like that. I really like Workflowy because you can move stuff around so much easier. Like if you have bullet points in Word, you have to copy and paste and drop it in, and then I always get the damn bullets wrong.
Because they move, they adjust to the margin.
Yeah, I didn't want to in that far or out that far. And then I like Workflowy too because it's fractal. Like you have your main bullet points here and you can click on it and open up your list of bullet points, or you can click on one of those bullet points and it opens it up full size in the screen as if that was the only bullet point with the other small bullet points underneath it.
Is it
It's online.
It's an online.
Yep. Oh, it's an online app, basically. Workflowy, FLOWY.com. It works well. I like to use it too to organize various thoughts. Like I'm just capturing the thoughts and I'm like, oh, this is more important, or this should go before this, or it should go in this order. And I actually used it to start writing another book. And of course I'll have to export it and put it into a Word document and refine it. But it's really allowed me to organize my thoughts. And so I use Workflowy to remind myself. One of the things I use it for, one of my main bullet points is here's your process. Which sounds funny that you have to tell yourself, here's your process, but I think that's something that we all kind of miss. And I think that's one of the things, if you do a search for David Allen's Getting Things Done workflow, I can't remember if he calls it a workflow process, he lays it all out. And I think it takes learning to learn anything like that. So I'm kind of still in that position where I'm getting used to my process. So I have Workflowy, and then all my documents, because the way I work is everything's I use a Chromebook. Everything is in the Chromebook. So I don't haul around paperwork. I have a couple of notebooks because I like to write in them and, take notes, of course. But almost everything's in the Chromebook. So I use Google Docs very extensively. I use the Google Sheets. I use all of that most of the time, like 95% of the time. I use OneDrive so that every once in a while when I have to edit somebody's Microsoft Office Word doc, I can do that. But I love the Chromebook because it's super light, it's lightweight, it powers up really quick. Everything runs off the internet. So if I dropped it right now and it smashed, God forbid, into a million pieces right here, I would just go buy a new Chromebook, log in, and there's all my stuff because it's all in the cloud.
I left using a PC to using Mac. And I did that because of the ability to sync everything everywhere. So I have most everything out in the cloud, but it's like I keep everything on my Mac and on my iPad, but the apps I use all sync. So no matter which device I have, I can look up my notes. And I don't like paper like you. I don't carry a lot of paper. My notes are kept on my iPad. I have an app that I write in my iPad, the notes, and then that app syncs to my Mac and it syncs to my iPhone. So if I'm somewhere and I can't remember what I wrote down, I can look it up easily. Keep myself organized.
Yeah. And I saw somebody had, what is it called? It's not called Papermate. Those are the pens. Oh, it is a tablet specifically now just for writing notes. And it's OCRs them almost immediately as soon as you save it. I
said, oh, wow, because I haven't heard of that yet.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. I see the ads. I saw the ads on Facebook, and then I saw somebody actually add a meeting with it. Now, maybe I'll think of it later, and you can put it in the show notes. Yes. I'll think of it 5 minutes after we hang up, So then I've been using Drop Task. And the reason I like Drop Task, the reason I tried it is because it's online. It's an online task manager, project management tool, is that you can create specific projects. So I might have this client here, and they have a couple forms. They have the list form, but then they also have a real visual one, and it's circles, and you can make them a certain color, and you can add pictures and things like that. Like if you need to procrastinate, you can spend time making it look pretty. But then you can have two projects, two different projects in these two circles, but this project, this task within this project also is related to this task, and you can drag and drop and create a connection between those two tasks. Or if you have 3 or 4 tasks to do within that one project, and this one depends on this other one, which depends on this one, you can kind of put them in order by dragging and dropping those connections that way.
I'm gonna have to look at that because I always like learning new software.
Yeah, droptask.com. They're getting ready to change their name to something that does not include the word task in it, and it's a made-up word, but marketers got to have something to do with their time. Hey, let's rename and rebrand our software.
Let's create a new word, yeah.
Yeah, let's create a new word, exactly. But they're super excited about it, so,
So if you had to give somebody a piece of advice, if you had to give somebody a resource to use, something that you found useful, what would it be?
Well, again, I do like the Workflowy for kind of organizing your thoughts. I do like the Drop Task. And then recently, because I am working with so many different people, like I said, I'm working with business owners, small business owners, to help them with their marketing. And a big part of what I do is help coach them and help them think about marketing and where do you want to take your project. But then when it comes down to the actual doing, I have several people that, I outsource to because that's their specialty. And so I can bring them into Asana and you can assign tasks, but you can see it, the client can see it, the graphic designer, that's one of my work with a really great graphic designer. She can see it. And so having everybody being able to see the list instead of that whole, here's an email, now I have to forward it to this person and I forward it to that person, that just started to make me crazy.
It can. I have a client that I work with that they do a lot of things by email, and they also use an online project management, but they don't use it to assign tasks. And we've been talking that I want her to try it again, because for me to try to manage her projects and follow all the emails and figure out who's got what and who's working on what, it's like, I understand why you're frustrated because it's difficult.
Yeah. One of the things that I have done fairly often that I'm kind of not afraid to, and I'll be honest, I'm sorry, drop task people, but I'm thinking about shifting all of my to-dos and all of my lists into Asana so that everything is in one place. So I haven't been afraid to say, this is not working for me, or I have too many things. Like if you're having to go here and then go here and it's over here and it's over here and it's over here, that's how things get lost.
Yeah.
And so that is one of the things that I'm really thinking about right now is, even if it's not my favorite thing, if it is the thing you will use, that is the best thing to use. Something that you feel comfortable with, even if it's not perfect, and you're going to go there, and that's where you start your day every day. That's your go-to. Like, I don't know where I put that. Well, I must have put it in my one thing.
Yeah, because there's so many different options out there now. And
yes,
there's so many that they don't all do. I'm working with one client that we're trying to find a perfect software resource for running their projects, because what we're using now doesn't do everything, and you just can't find something that does everything. So you have to find something that does the 80 to 80%, 90% of what you need, and then work around the other 10%, because there's so many options. And I can't tell you how many different demos we've been on together trying to find something.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that I've discovered too in, I worked for an IT company. I worked in marketing for an IT company for a while, and it was really interesting. And we had a system that they were trying to make it do everything. And I appreciated the fact that you are trying to find that one thing that does everything. But after a while, it's like a person, right? You can't be good at everything.
Yeah.
And so, the software would get bloated, or they'd have a CRM, they'd have a great time tracking, billing and time tracking program, but then their CRM is just horrible, or their email merge and send out. It's just the worst. And so I think you need as few programs as possible, but not any fewer, right? That's a paraphrase of, I want to say Picasso said, make everything as simple as possible, but not any simpler.
Yeah. So you have to actually just keep it minimized, but not too minimal. So if people want to find out more about you and keep track of like your next book that comes out, how can they find you?
Sure. Well, because SEO is one of my other skill sets, and someday if you wanted to get super esoteric, I could explain to you how SEO and networking are pretty much the same thing, just different, forums, just different forums. So I also do SEO, and that way that if you search for Beth Bridges networking, you should absolutely find me. If not, to paraphrase my cousin, if they can't find you through searching for Beth Bridges networking, then you suck at SEO. But she once told me, if you can't build your business, by leveraging your network, then I think you suck at networking.
Yeah.
But I did. I built out my entire marketing business without spending any money on advertising. It was all through networking. But I'm known as the networking motivator. And so that's my website, Sorry, I still say that every once in a while, right? I love how you talk to people. Well, like my grandma would be like, it's www. Thank you, Grandma. networkingmotivator.com.
Awesome.
That's a great place to start.
Okay, well, I will make sure that that's in the notes. It's been a great conversation. I appreciate you joining me today, and I look forward to seeing more coming out from you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of Project Management for Small Business. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and please leave a review if you like what you're listening to. Share this podcast with other friends and coworkers. And if you want to be a guest, or if you have any questions, please send me an email at pmforsb@pavproconsulting.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.